Good morning, you guys, and a happy Saturday morning to you. Okay, a couple of things to tell you. Number one, there will be a video on Sunday, royal family stuff and a little bit of other stuff, because otherwise I'm getting too far behind. So there will be a video Sunday, okay? Number two, your comments are in here. You guys have been very vocal again. And number three, I want you to know I am literally losing brain cells watching this. So just try to bear with me, okay? And let's get through this. Let's go. So before we get into number four, let me just say that her show is absolutely being savaged. Camilla Tommely said that generally people looking at Meghan's truth, they're saying it's an extremely glossy, almost insta-porn for people who are interested in whitewash homes with furnishings and cut glass and all the rest of it. She says, but this is how to be the hostess with the mostest. Meghan said she wants this very humbly titled docuseries with Love Meghan to expose the realities of working motherhood. But she says, I don't know about you. I'm sure most working mothers go out into their vast acreage of land in sunny Montecito and they forage for flowers to decorate their children's meals with. Not. During GB News, they said, and I'm quoting, Meghan was one of the most narcissistic women on the planet and also one of the most narcissistic plagiarists. She seems to have taken recipes from Instagram pages and is now saying, even if you live in a small London flat, you can do what I do in my big rented farmhouse. You should know the absolute worst, though, was on the Palace Confidential, that their first impression was it was just very, very boring. The Daily Mail's royal editor, Rebecca English, was there, and the woman that was talking to her said, when I greeted you earlier, you look like you'd been through an ordeal. Is that fair? And Rebecca English goes, yeah, I'll be honest. I lost the will to live after the episode about making ice cubes. She said, I watched it with an open mind, and I had a very high bar set due to Meghan's previous success with the TIG. But however, she said she couldn't really work out what Meghan was trying to say or who she was trying to appeal to. I mean, they talked about how it wasn't even done in her house, and she's harvesting vegetables from somebody else's garden. Yeah. Next up are some of your comments about Meghan's bath salts that she made. They said never use her recipe because she used too much arnica oil, and this amount of oil would actually burn your skin. Several people said that, and bath salts can be potentially toxic, so you'd be crazy to follow her recipe. And two of you pointed out that you have to have like a base oil, otherwise it's really bad. So that just goes to show you that she doesn't know what she's doing. I think that's pretty obvious. All right, let's move now into this episode 4. This starts off with Meghan saying, my friend Delphina is coming over. And so I am going to, and she's just my dear friend, by the way. And so before we go on a hike, I'm going to make some sun tea. Now, this is an idea that's been around for generations. But she claims, I've been doing this for a long time and now I do it with my kids. And she basically puts a bunch of stuff in a tea bag. She sticks it in water and she sticks it outside to brew in, steep in the warmth of the sun. And of course, she makes it sound like she's the only person who's ever done this. In case you didn't see it in the picture, by the way, she's wearing her 2-carat diamond pinky ring while she's doing this. Once again, dripping in hundreds of thousands of dollars in jewelry, and her hair is literally in the tea bag that she's making. FYI, during this entire episode, Meghan throws out some Spanish because remember, she wants you to think that she speaks fluent Spanish. And she makes some tea bags for Delphine to take home. So anyway, she says, well, we met through our husbands who played polo together because she's married to Nacho and they have 4 amazing children and her boys play polo. Then she said something that I think is mean, but she tried to cover it up. She says, when you see her, you'll go, how is that possible? More beautiful on the inside than on the outside. But she is a stunner, so that just tells you how gorgeous her spirit is. And the moment we met, we bonded over our love of the outdoors and being in nature, and we hike whenever she's in town. And sometimes we even let our husbands join us. So she shows this really stupid video of Harry jumping out behind a tree to scare her, and she does that fake over-emoting laugh that she does. Okay, so it's just, I don't see how they're friends. So anyway, Meghan goes, well, I'm going to show her how to make that focaccia bread, and we're going to have a beautiful garden pasta, and we're going to have a picnic. She also talks about she's had a traditional Argentina tea, and she says, and it's local, and if you haven't had it before, you're going to think it takes like rope, rope, and you won't be wrong. So she insults the tea. All right, let's move on. So all throughout this entire episode, you hear the word community, crust, texture. It's her buzzwords, and that's all you hear. So she says, I'm going to make some treats next for Delphine to take home, and I'm going to make her some jam. But before the jam, she's going to make dog biscuits for Delphina's dog named Nina. So of course, also she makes sure that you see Guy, that the dog that died recently is there also, and she makes sure that you can see him. And of course, we have the typical, it's basic ingredients. Put them in, do this, do that. The dog will be the most favorite person in the world. You guys get what I'm saying. It's the same old thing. She never really gives you a recipe. You could use oat flour, or you could mix it with half flour, or you could do wheat flour. Oh, and peanut butter, but make sure it's not this peanut butter. It has to be that peanut butter. She cracks an egg and goes, oh my God, look at that yolk. She's over-emoting about the yolk. So eventually she finishes with that and she moves on to the raspberries. She dumps the raspberries into the pot. She adds some sugar. Who knows what else she adds. And she talks about how she's going to slow cook it. It's going to take 20 minutes to make sure it's healthy and safe to eat, she says. And again, it's going to break this down. It's going to be this. It's going to be luscious. And I'm just like, okay, whatever. Just finish this so we can get to it. Oh, can you smell that? All right. Then eventually she takes the dog biscuits out. She gives one to Guy, and she puts together the package for Delphine. Oh, one other thing, she says, you want to get that jam into the jars immediately because it traps the heat in there. And she says, and that there'll come a moment a few hours later when you'll hear a noise, and that tells you that the top is suctioned, and you go, oh, it's sealed. Great. That's never the way I've heard that you seal this stuff. But anyway, Delphine then walks up and then she hugs her and goes, wow, you're so tall. Delphine says, do you want me to take my shoes off? And Meghan goes, only if you want to. So Delphine takes off her shoes. And Meghan says, okay, we're going to make the focaccia or focaccia. I can't even tell you how to pronounce it. And she goes, but this recipe is really simple. And she takes her through it and she talks to her. Why do you like this so much? Now, here's the main point about all of this. Every now and then, Meghan throws out a word in Spanish and Delphine will go, very good. Or Meghan will say it and Delphine will go, see. And she's trying to make sure that you guys know that she can speak Spanish. Now, while the bread is rising, they decide to go out into the wilderness for a hike. And Meghan this time has brought that black dog that she adopted, Pula, the one that took the place of the other dog, the one that she dumped in Canada. So they're walking around outside and Delphine says, did you do any of this stuff when you were a little girl? Meghan goes, oh, I was a Girl Scout for so many years. I started as a daisy when you're 5 or 6 and I sold a lot of cookies. And then she says, and my mom was the troop leader of 949. I can only assume that happened before her mother left and dumped her off with her dad, who then raised her. But of course, she never talks about her father in this entire episode. It's all about her mom. Then they have a very superficial conversation at the top of the mountain. Meghan's, it's so grounding to be outside. And basically Delphine talks about how they didn't have Legos. Instead, they had sticks. I guess she grew up poor. So anyway, they finish this and they go back to the house. The two of them finish this very, very, superficial conversation and they dance up the trail back towards the house. Then it switches back in time again. The next thing that happens is Meghan decides to show us how to make lavender towels. She goes, they're easy surprises and delights. And basically all this is she gets some white towels, dips them in water, of which she's put lavender oil and some fresh lavender. She wrings them out, and then she puts them on this, I guess it's like a stone, and then she sticks it in the refrigerator. She then proceeds to make some extra ones, puts them in a plastic bag that she's labeled, and sticks those in there as well for, future spa days for herself. She also runs outside and picks some flowers off of a vine and says, "Oh, yeah, this is perfect." And she throws them on top to make it look nicer with also some lavender, because, nobody would ever think to do something like this. When she's done with that, Delphine is apparently outside relaxing from their hike. And so Meghan goes out with the towels and again with the Spanish, and Delphine's putting it to her face going, "My makeup's going to come off with this." And so Meghan says, "Okay, well, let's freshen up. And after we have our sun tea, let's freshen up and I'll meet you back in the kitchen." And so they disappear. And when they come back, they're both perfectly coiffed with makeup and fabulous outfits. So they pop a glass of wine, they pull the dough. Delphine is like, "I just cannot believe how high this bread," but you guys get what I'm saying? I feel like I'm going brain dead watching and trying to review these shows for you. I really am trying. Again, shape, texture, the perfect crumb. And in the meantime, they're pouring alcohol for each other because I'm sure Delphine needs to drink in order to stay in the room with Meghan and try to finish this damn bread. Like, seriously, you guys, there's only so much you can do with this. They try to make the bread, and then, of course, they decide to go outside and get some fresh rosemary and some tomatoes, and it's the same thing it's the same exact thing that she did the other day with her other friends. Let's go outside, let's get some fresh stuff, let's incorporate it. I feel like I'm literally watching the same thing over and over and over again. It's like, what's that show, The Stepford? You guys know what I'm talking about, where it's Groundhog Day. It's Groundhog Day. So anyway, they're sticking their fingers in the bread, the tiny holes, because that's going to give us the texture. I'm telling you, she loves the word texture. And Delphine keeps saying, "This is so much fun. This is easy. This is so much fun. This is easy." And I feel like I'm going brain dead. I want to make sure you guys know that during this process, Meghan, as she did before, had her hands all over the food and also had her hands in her hair. It's absolutely disgusting. Then they decide to do something really revolutionary, and Meghan chops up some onions and some zucchini and some other stuff, and she sticks them on the oven and she sautés them while she has Delphine make the pasta, which, by the way, is sitting in the glass jar right next to the stove. It's just plain old pasta. So they do the pasta, then they take whatever this is Meghan made, they dump it on top, they cut up the fresh tomatoes that they made from outside, and then Meghan says, "Oh, let's put some cheese on. Oh, okay, let's make a charcuterie board next." And remember, this food is just for the two of them. I'm trying to figure out, how are they keeping the pasta and everything warm, waiting for them to eat it while they go on to make the next item? You guys know what I'm saying? Look at Meghan's face there, my God. Okay, so then they decide to make a charcuterie board, and they've got salami and apricot and grapes and cheeses, and they make this fancy schmancy looking board while they continue, I might add, to drink a lot of alcohol. There's so much food. At one point, Delphine actually says, "Are we supposed to eat all this?" And Meghan goes, "Oh, yes, plus the pasta salad, plus the entire bread." And Delphine is like, "Oh, and probably another bottle of wine." And Delphine goes, "Right, I guess I'll just roll back home then." And Meghan goes, "Well, you've earned it. We did our hike. We detoxed. Now we're going to retox." Another little play on words. And then the two of them go walking outside because for some reason they've taken all this food and they've thrown it on the ground outside. So they sit down to eat, and Meghan goes, look at what we did, all of our goodies. Let's eat. Let's try all of our beautiful things. And basically, you see the two of them shoving the food in their mouths, and this goes on and on. But then it turns into what it turns into for everybody else. Delphine starts talking, and she goes, oh, it's so nice for you being you. And it's just so wonderful. And if we'd known each other in Argentina, we would have been such good friends. Delphine continues, I'm obsessed when you are just you. I love that face of M, just M, my little friend. You know, you're so happy. That's who I love. And I'm just like, oh my God. So once again, it's, let's get together as friends, but I'm going to say nothing but wonderful things about you because this is the Meghan Markle show. Then they finish up by talking about how much fun they had together while the dog sits watching them eat, drooling, and Meghan's going, no Poola, and pushing the dog back off of the blanket. Why that dog was even out there, I can't even fathom. I don't know. But once again, I watched it for you guys and I feel like I lost brain cells. No, seriously, I feel like I'm losing brain cells with each episode. All right, reminder, there will be a video on Sunday. It's going to mostly encompass royal family stuff, but there will be some other stuff in there as well. And then we will pick these back up on Monday. So, let's keep going. All right, hope to see you there.